Last week, I asked you guys to send me your spiciest takes relating to Mario or other Nintendo series. It would be a fun little thing I could do for reaching 6,000 subscribers, but I ended up getting a migraine reading all of these. Some of you really need to be locked up. Now, I can only fit a handful of them in this video, so I encourage you guys to check the original post to make your own responses to the comments that I couldn't feature here. How this will work is that I'll respond by giving my own opinion and rate the hotness of your take, on a scale from 1 to 5 business Bowsers. Without further ado, let's get started. We listen and we judge a moderate amount. Thought we could start things off with something relevant to a certain game that's been popping off recently. I like the more realistic art style of base Mario Kart 8 than the cartoony approach they're going with Mario Kart World. I'm afraid I'm not with you on this one. Now, Mario Kart 8 looks amazing, like jaw-droppingly gorgeous for a game that came out in 2014. And what I think made the realism work is that it's in that sweet spot of realism that still made it feel recognizable to the traditional look of Mario. And if they went further in this direction with the next game, I feel like we would have reached the uncanny valley. Also, it wouldn't look nearly as distinct from Mario Kart 8, and I'd imagine they would want the sequel to an 11-year-old game to be just that, distinct. So them going for this cartoony realism blend with Mario Kart World was not only smart, but in my opinion, it somehow looks even better, because thanks to the more round and playful direction, it succeeds more in certain things like character expressions and visual effects. But I do see the appeal of the original Mario Kart 8 art direction, so I think this is a fair enough take. I'm giving this 2 business Bowsers. Next up, we have Not Shy Guy. My hot take is that I prefer when Mario has more limited movesets in the 3D games. I've always valued high quality level design over good movement, and having a more limited moveset allows Nintendo easier access to more interesting level concepts, since they don't have to worry about, but they might do this 70 million other unintended ways. All this to say, 3D World is the best Mario game. I think the explanation makes perfect sense because when the player has a bigger arsenal, that's more possibilities that need to be accounted for in the level design. Whereas if you limit their abilities, it can allow the gameplay to be more focused. Personally, however, I value a diverse and flexible moveset more, as I feel like it can make a game a lot more fun than the level design could. The ideal game should have both, of course, just look at Pizza Tower, but there are cases such as some of Mario 64's levels and Mario Kart DS's retro tracks, where the less than stellar level design is still made fun thanks to how exhilarating the player feels to control. I'm not sure if I agree with that last bit. 3D World is definitely up there for sure, but not quite certain about the best. Agree in some parts, disagree in others, so you get 3 business Bowsers. Mr. Stone's hot take is, I think Donkey Kong's new design is far better than his old one. Oh my god, can we give Mr. Stone a true? At first I felt indifferent to the new design, I didn't really care, but only recently with Donkey Kong Bonanza have I realized that I love this so much. There was nothing wrong with Rare's design, it looks great, but I hadn't realized that he could look even better. I like how he resembles the original arcade design more. His eyes are more cartoony, his expressions are more exaggerated and ape-like, and I think it's for the best that he evolves into something more Nintendo than being tied to a long-gone partner-developed series. To be honest, I never really got the fuss over the redesign because not much has really changed overall. Maybe the Sonic fans have breached our defenses, but I find myself more partial to the new Donkey Kong. Not the hottest take though, so you get 2 business Bowsers. The ghost with the most hot take is, Paper Mario Color Splash is by far the best Paper Mario game. Thousand Year Door is mediocre. Okay, look, as a Color Splash fan myself, that's insane. There are things about Color Splash that go underappreciated. It's super appealing art direction, it has a fun world to explore, and the writing is really funny. But one huge thing that holds it back a lot is the combat system, needlessly complicated resource management, and puzzle solving, aka I hope you have the right thing. I still think it's a good game, but to put it over 64, Thousand Year Door, and even Origami King is insane to me. Thousand Year Door catching strays makes sense though because it's almost the inverse of Color Splash. Great battle system, but traversing the overworld can get very monotonous and boring. I'd put it just above Color Splash if I were to rank them, but the remake shoots it way up with all of its quality of life improvements. Look, I really appreciate the Color Splash love, but holy hell, that's getting 5 whole business Bowsers. Moby DDD's hot take is, Mario Kart Wii did not age well, and is only carried by nostalgia from 2000s kids playing Funky Kong when they were 12. The models are even more low poly than Double Dash, the bloom effect makes the game a blurry mess, and the way you lose completely all your momentum when you bump into a wall is unsatisfying as hell. This game is not better than Mario Kart 8 or Double Dash. As someone who's a Mario Kart Wii baby, I'm not gonna lie, kinda true. Wouldn't go as far to say that is bad, but definitely not as good as most make it out to be. The selection of new tracks is phenomenal, and the trick system is one of the best mechanics they've added, but there's a huge imbalance between the carts and bikes, and the chaos of the items really pushed their limit for me. And I agree regarding the graphics. Not a fan of the whole game having the Instagram sparkle filter. It's still a good Mario Kart game, but it has one too many icks for me to consider it one of the greats. You are correct in that Double Dash and 8 Deluxe are far better. I'm not sure how they rate Wii overall, so if they're just saying it's not as good, I'd give it 3 Business Bowsers. But if they're saying it's the worst one, that's way spicier and I'd give that 5. There's definitely worse Mario Kart games than Wii. I mean, 64 is down the hall and to the left. Next up is Charlotte T's hot take. Getting all the stars in Melty Molten Galaxy is worse than the green stars in Mario Galaxy 2. Now, this one left me straight up befuddled, not because it's a hot take or a bad take, but how do I compare 6 stars to 120? So I went and replayed Melty Molten, and I forgot that this galaxy has some real stinkers. I mean, I like the music, the rolling ball section, and a third thing probably, but man, the Bullet Bill escorting, a boss clone, a hungry Luma planet nobody remembers, and doing the same mission again just with one hit. Galaxy 2's green stars are pretty divisive, but I'm on the side in favor of them. I just love how some of these really push your limits, and how they integrate exploration in the linear level design. The biggest problem though is that there's 120 of them. Even as a green star enthusiast, I get pretty exhausted of them halfway through. So I think from the sheer amount of endurance this requires, I would prefer just playing a far smaller amount that ranged from mediocre to decent. But if you were to argue that the long journey of green stars offer more excitement than Melty Molten, I'd say fair enough, but you're getting 4 Business Bowsers. That's still a crazy take. Next up is Toad Kart. Congrats. Why, thank you. Anyway, Super Mario Kart is... Oh! And Wind Waker is the only good Oh! Well, I don't know what to say. So, first off, Super Mario Kart is better than DS.
No.
I mean, I'm glad to see someone put Super in a good light. It's definitely misunderstood and overhated. The CPUs may drive my ass up the wall, but hey, the presentation and music is very appealing, and the controls may be rough, but they're very rewarding to master. It's a decent game. It's not better than DS. Look, I know it's far from a perfect game, but it's offering way more content, and within that you have a much tighter and malleable gameplay, and easily the best single-player content up until free roam. Also, the CPUs aren't total dicks. That alone makes it better. And as for that Wind Waker take, from my experience I enjoyed what I played, but said enjoyment was held back by the combat that had a lot of waiting for people to get up from the ground, and the engaging parts of sailing being few and far between. Overall it's a good game, but I like both the N64 and Switch games more. So to call Wind Waker the only good one is somehow more unhinged than the last. Yeah, easily getting 5 Business Bowsers for both. Congrats. Next up is Alfonso. The Wind Temple from Tears of the Kingdom is the best in the series. I love everything about it. The puzzles, music, boss, it just has everything perfect in my eyes. Also, Tulin is peak Zelda character. Okay, that part's based. Initially, I was like, mods? Crushed your skull, thank you. But I actually started replaying Tears of the Kingdom with the Switch 2 upgrade, and I got to the Wind Temple and... actually, they might be cooking. The ascent to the flying ship as the air gets more intense and the music elevates, it's one of my favorite parts of the whole story. It just feels amazing. Overall, a fantastic spectacle, and the boss fight of Colgera takes advantage of it perfectly. I just can't get on board with how it's designed. Still not a fan of the whole non-linear find the switches structure of these games. So I agree when it comes to the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom dungeons, but I don't think it can compare to some of the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, more focused and careful design. Since I agree in some regard, I'm giving you 3 Business Bowsers. Next we have Painter Dude. You might hate me for this, but I think Toad Turnpike in Mario Kart Deluxe is a pretty cool track. Nah, I don't hate you. No offense taken. Alright, what do you got? Slushy Sue. I personally believe that the 2D formula for Kirby is one of the best formulas in any video game series. The way they always improved upon the formula is what got me invested into the series, especially with games like Dreamland 3 and 64 with their uniqueness, all 3 touchscreen games being gimmicky in a way that works, and Robobot is literally my favorite game ever. Okay, that's kinda based. You know, I've never really thought about it before, but now that you mention it, you might be onto something. I mean, the formula has been overall stagnant throughout the whole series, yet the quality is so consistently good. Turns out you don't need to reinvent the wheel when it's been rolling this whole time. All they really needed to do was iterate upon the last, but add some new gimmick or mechanic, like Superstar's Partners, Triple Deluxe's Hypernova, or Planet Robobot's Mech Suit. And what do you know? All of these games slap, and even when they do change the formula like Epic Yard removing the inhale and Forgotten Land going 3D, it still slaps. Kirby is just goated like that. I'm only gonna give you one business Bowser because I wouldn't necessarily call this a hot take, just the truth that not many are willing to admit. Next in line is Kirby. My hot take is that Nintendo should not make any more linear 3D Mario games. The Galaxy series and 3D Land and World have explored the idea enough, and I think Nintendo are the pioneers of player freedom in a lot of the recent big titles, so they should keep exploring that potential instead of going back. Basically, we don't need a Galaxy 3. While I do share the same desire for more sandbox or open world 3D Mario, I don't think they should entirely ditch the linear formula, because while that structure has been used more often, I don't think it's reached its full potential just yet. 3D World was the most that it evolved, and it led to a lot of really fun levels, but I just have the feeling that they could be even more. What I'm basically saying is that linear 3D Mario needs its own Mario Wonder, just something that can really revolutionize the level design. Of course, I don't mean just do Wonder Flowers again, do something new. That being said, I do agree it should be a priority for them to explore the sandbox structure more, and you make a very good case as to why, so that's getting one business Bowser. Our next hot take is from The Indifferent. I think the Mario RPGs are all just okay to pretty good. The best games are a 7.5 out of 10, and at worst they're like a 6. So I'm always a bit baffled when I hear about how they've fallen off in quality. Individual games might be better or worse than others, but I think the quality is pretty consistent. Also, Origami King is my favorite one.
Hello? Base department?
I think what might repel some people from the Mario RPGs are the simplicity of the RPG elements, but I'd argue that's what gives it the edge over the traditional RPG. It serves as a really good entry point to the genre by working with super low numbers, and the action commands add a lot more engagement. And also the fact that it's an RPG means we get to explore the Mario universe with, like, you know, an actual story, so that alone gives it a lot of appeal. And the reason why people say that they've fallen off in quality, or at least up until the recent remakes, were because games like Sticker Star and Paper Jam were quite the departure from what made the earlier games appealing, with less interesting stories and more experimental battle systems. But saying that they range from okay to pretty good isn't the worst you could have said, especially if you're a bigger fan of the more traditional RPG, so I'm giving you 3 business Bowsers. Next we have Brad766. I don't think Pikmin games work with infinite day systems. There is zero tension to get stuff done in as little days as possible, which makes me question why they're days in the first place. Both infinite day games have the caves, which I guess are supposed to be that tension, but also the only tension is having to slowly restock your Pikmin if a bunch of them die down there, which, might I add, is not a very fun form of tension. Now I do agree, there's definitely a layer of tension added from the overarching time limit that encourages your gameplay efficiency, which is what Pikmin is all about, but I don't think it's what makes or breaks it per se. I think the day-to-day time limit already offers enough tension, as there's sort of a risk and reward element that comes into play as the sun is about to set, and you try to challenge yourself to finish that one final task in time for your Pikmin to be safe for the night. And even when the game isn't giving you a limited amount of days, the player would still try to challenge themselves to see how few days they can beat the game in. So the day limit is technically still there, it's just self-inflicted by the player wanting to optimize the game instead of it being an in-game mechanic. And regarding the caves, they're less about efficiency and more about endurance, but I won't fight you on that. I kinda like them, but I get the disdain. Overall, I disagree, but fair enough take. You get 2 business Bowsers. Up next is a hot take from Benign Studio. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Super Mario World is ugly with gross, garish colors, so much neon green and beige and gray.
Oh my god, punch my mama in the throat, karate kick my daddy in the chip.
I could not agree any less. If it weren't for Wonder, Mario World would be the single most appealing 2D Mario. From the expressive and colorful sprites, the background art, the HUD design. I mean, there's a reason why I chose this game as my channel's aesthetic. Now, there are certain choices in the tile map of some of these levels, like that ice level in the Special World and that one with all the paratroopas, but those are merely jarring exceptions. I mean, you cannot look me in the eye and say that this nighttime background is unbelievably charming. Oh boy, is it hot in here, or is it just the 5 business Bowsers on screen right now? But you know, it thankfully can't get worse than this. Oh, it can. Personally, I like the Lost Levels for what it is. It's very charming. Charming, yeah? Not the word I would use personally. You know what? Fair enough. Let's just move on to the next. Mario Circuit 3 is the greatest Mario Kart track. Oh! Oh no! The layout is perfect, and it's really satisfying to just race on. I can't. I just can't. I'm so tired of this shit. It's everywhere. It's everywhere I go, I see it. It won't leave me alone. I think I'm gonna be sick. I'll just do the next one. Oh my fucking god. It's not mid. It was featured in The Wizard. I feel like I'm in the trenches right now. Do I even dare to look at the next one? We're done. We're done. we're done. Before we end things, why don't I give my own spicy take, and it's related to Paper Mario. I sort of alluded to this throughout some of my responses to other people, but I genuinely like Origami King more than the Thousand Year Door. As I've spoken, the story, characters, world, and combat of TTYD is stellar, but as a game, it's pretty rough. The design of the levels and the way you traverse between them is super linear. Almost the entire game is made up of hallways, and it leads to the story structure of these chapters having you go back and forth between the same hallways to get to a certain sub-level in said hallway. To be honest, exploration in this game is pretty miserable. Origami King, on the other hand, is such a pleasure to explore. The levels feel far more open, and each area has a list of objectives like unfolding toads and filling up bottomless holes. The battle system is a point of contention for many, but I've never minded it personally, and I especially love the way the boss fights are implemented. They're really fun. So naturally, I would prefer the game with great exploration with an acceptable battle system over the game with a great battle system but lackluster exploration. With the remake, they actually did fix most of my problems with adding a lot of fast travel, and I actually love the remake so much, I think it's about equal with Origami King for me. I'm even considering rating it higher. But when it comes to the original version, I'll stand by my take. I'll let you guys rate how many business Bowsers my take is. I actually really like Origami King a lot, and I could go on, but I'll stop for now. Maybe I have a certain idea of what my next big review will be on? Maybe, but I think I'll wrap things up here. Once again, thank you to everyone who participated, even those I couldn't fit in the video. I wanted to keep this video relatively small so I can get to talking about Mario Kart World soon. I do have a fun video prepared for that game, so I hope you look forward to that. Last thing, I really appreciate you all getting my channel this far, and here's to getting even further. See you guys then, and if there's anything to take away from this video, some things you really gotta keep to yourself.